Have you ever watched two movies like Fast and the Furious and Terminator and wondered what it would look like if the characters, settings, and plots existed in the same universe? Have you asked questions like, what would Dom's crew look like as members of the human resistance? How would Dom take on a Terminator sent back in time to kill him? And most importantly, is there any NOS left in 2029?
I need NOS. I need NOS.
In this video from Strange Thoughts, I'll explore what a crossover could look like between two of the greatest movie franchises in modern history, Fast and the Furious and Terminator. My goal is to put together a proof of concept, something to get the execs at Universal and TriStar interested enough to greenlight an actual crossover film. To do this, I'll put together a loose storyline, prove we can keep our lucrative product placements, and set us up for a sequel.
Easy money.
Let's begin by quickly reviewing each series. This will prime our brains for some high-octane storyboarding. Starting with the Terminator, the franchise centers on an AI called Skynet that becomes self-aware and decides to nuke humanity after we try to pull the plug. Those who escape the initial nuclear exchange survive only to face a new war against Skynet's machines focused on exterminating what is left of mankind. While the machines initially have the advantage, a man named John Connor unites the remaining humans and leads them to victory over Skynet. However, in the final days before Skynet's defeat, it sends a cybernetic assassin known as a Terminator back in time to kill John Connor and thus change its own fate. The Resistance counters by sending back their own warrior to protect John and ensure their own current victory. This sets the stage for a time-traveling boxing match where our present-day heroes find themselves constantly on the run against the latest and greatest Terminator sent back in time by Skynet. The main characters include John Connor, his mom Sarah, and a last year's model Terminator sent back in time to protect them. While our discount Terminator is key to John and his mom surviving, they're not helpless. Their ability to evade termination and thus ensure more sequels comes from years of military training Sarah picked up from dating Green Berets and Navy SEALs. In each film, our characters have two goals. First, to evade termination, and second, to change the future by destroying the nascent Skynet before it becomes self-aware. To accomplish each goal, there's a lot of stealing cars, fixing up cars, driving cars, and shooting from cars. This brings us to our next franchise, Fast and the Furious. The franchise starts with Dom's crew boosting semi-trucks full of DVD players to bolster the bottom line of a struggling auto shop / grocery store. I mean, it's not hard to believe Toretto's Grocery and Gas has a hard time pulling in positive reviews on Yelp. Unless you're a street racer, the place isn't the most inviting and the staff is a little scary.
I'm in your face.
Over the years, Dom's crew graduates from stealing consumer electronics to robbing drug lords to eventually taking down international terrorists. Along the way, their crew grows to include special agents, weapon experts, hackers, and a master tactician.
Seriously, if I don't start making decisions, I'm out.
This is a crew that has proven they can take down just about anyone. Naturally, the next step in the franchise's evolution involves Dom's crew saving humanity from extinction. So, how can we bring these two franchises together? Well, we know the human resistance needs all the help it can get, especially those with skills in vehicular warfare, marksmanship, combat medicine, and automotive repair. You really need a mechanic in this post-Judgment Day wasteland. If Dominus' crew escaped the initial nuclear blast, let's say they're in Brazil at the time, they would quickly rise in the ranks given their unique set of skills. These skills would make them both an ally of John Connor and an enemy of Skynet. The Terminator franchise reveals the killer cyborgs are not only sent back in time to terminate John, but also other leaders of the human resistance. It would make sense that the crew's shenanigans would irritate Skynet like no other, and the crew would be targeted for termination.
This is crazy, man. We got mercenaries with some real heat on us. I mean, I ain't scared of nothing, but man, I don't even have a gun.
So this is the foundation of our new crossover's plot. Dom and his crew are top lieutenants in John Connor's army and have been targeted for termination in present-day LA. Now we need to put together a rough storyline. While I'm going to focus on the setting of T2 and the first Fast and Furious, I'll pull from all movies in the franchises to find potential crossover points. I am going to take a few liberties with original scripts in order to weave these masterpieces together, but will do my best not to irritate James Cameron. Let's get started with our first crossover point.
Take the wheel, Dom.
At the beginning of T2, set in post-Judgment Day future, I see a couple ways we can start integrating the franchises, starting with this scene right here. Imagine being introduced to post-Judgment Day Dom in a scene like this. He'd be ripping through gears in a souped-up Chevy with Letty in the back shooting down hunter killers. Their success in moments like these would come from past experience, like when they took down a Russian jet full of international terrorists. However, unlike this original T2 scene where some granny shifting buster rolls of the truck, Dom would have given Lenny plenty of time to take down the last HK. This would also allow us to get in our first product placement, a shot of Sparko racing seats in Ben's Chevy.
Lieutenant Dom.
Back at Human Resistance headquarters, the relationship between John and Dom's crew would be inferred by them being present as John is observing the pending victory. In this shot of John looking over the battlefield with his lieutenants, we would see Dom, Letty, and other members of Dom's crew in the background. Now, we may not see Roman in this scene as he's probably flirting with some of the ladies in the bunker below.
Sexy legs, baby girl. What time do they open?
However, we would get Sarah Connor's voiceover about how the machine sent back Terminators to kill her, John, and now members of Dom's crew. This is where we cut to present day LA, where we experience our third crossover point,
Naked machines and NOS.
Here we see the two Terminators sent from the future materialize in an industrial park close to where Dom and Brian are competing in their first street race. While the T-800 eagerly seeks out some new leather and a Harley, the T-1000 starts searching for its primary target John and its secondary targets Dom and his crew. While looking up records on John, the T-1000 overhears something on the police radio about a street race.
We have reported street racing along Hawthorne.
Oh shit, we got cops!
Based on its detailed files of Dom's past, it decides to join the chase to see if it can check Dom off its to terminate list. The T-1000 joins the rest of the police to catch the street racers, but can't keep up with Dom, as he is too fast and frankly, just too furious. At this point, Dom has no idea he just escaped a run-in with the most efficient killing machine known to man and goes back to 1327 East Kensington to have a few Coronas, the official beer of race wars. Yes! Product placement number 2. After failing to acquire a secondary target, the T-1000's attention returns to John. It is time to make a trip to the foster parents' house. This dude almost exclusively drives motorcycles and semi-trucks. Unlike the T-800, you would never catch him in a station wagon, so naturally, he kindly asks to borrow another semi and starts on his way. Little does he know though, he just commandeered a truck full of highly valuable DVD players, making himself the target of Dom's crew. Crossover point 4. Does CYBERDYNE make DVD players? Highway 86. What the crew thinks is a routine hijacking proceeds to crazy town when they realize the driver they're attacking is made of liquid metal. The crew's gonna need a lot of therapy after this one. The T-1000 fucks up Vince, and while the crew manages to get him off the semi, he ends up dying from his wounds. This messes up Dom, who swears vengeance on whatever this thing is. Okay, so Dom has met his enemy. It's time to meet his allies. Somehow we need a scene where Dom gets introduced to the T-800, John, and Sarah. Now there is a scene in which the T-800 pulls their stolen police cruiser into a beat-down looking garage resembling one Toretto may own. I think we have our next crossover point.
Oil changes and bullet removal.
While they're breaking into Toretto's garage, they don't realize Dom is sitting in the shadows, figuring out his next move against the T-1000. As Dom comes into the light, asking them what the hell they're doing, the T-800 raises its gun. Right before putting several rounds through Dom's gas tank of a brain, the T-800 stops, recognizing a future lieutenant in the human resistance. In the T-800's matter-of-fact voice, it informs John and Sarah the man in front of them is Dominic Toretto, a future lieutenant in the human resistance and one of John's closest friends. Sarah, hesitant at first, remembers the name from a few stories Kyle Reese told her and lowers her weapon. Dom, who thinks he's being robbed by a group of heavily armed junkies, gets ready to run in case they change their minds about killing him. Right as he starts to leave, the Terminator gets his attention by rattling off his full name and information only Dom's closest friends would know, like how he lives his life a quarter mile at a time, his favorite beer is Corona, and that he's too much of a sissy to drive his father's car.
Scares the shit out of me.
This last fact stops Dom in his tracks. It is both true and hurtful. He asks the T-800 how he knows so much about it. Similar to how they explain Skynet, Judgment Day, and time travel to Miles Dyson, the gang kicks off the conversation with some Terminator show and tell. The T-800 rips the living tissue off its forearm to reveal it is a machine.
Now listen to me very carefully.
This is followed by the Terminator going through Dom's future resume, pointing out achievements like taking down cartels and defeating a 006 wannabe. He describes how Dom and Letty grow their crew to include a cop named Brian, a DSS agent named Hobbs, and even a famous R&B singer.
Baby, you hang up, no, you hang up, on 3 hang up.
The Terminator's recounting of Dom's future progresses to Judgment Day, where he reveals Dom's crew escaped the nuclear exchange when they were down in Brazil. I mean, no one's gonna nuke Brazil, right? After realizing what happened to the rest of the world, they joined the resistance, working their way up the chain of command until Dom found himself as a top lieutenant in John's army. Together, John and Dom's crew fought the machines a quarter mile at a time until on the eve of victory, they learned of Skynet's plot to change the future and sent back a Terminator of their own, the one standing right in front of him. At the end of all of this, Dom can't figure out whether he's angrier about the impending Armageddon or the fact that Brian lied to him about being a cop. He decides to put the Brian issue away for the moment and concentrate on the task at hand. He asks Sarah what's next. Sarah explains that they can either hide and wait for Judgment Day, or they can try to prevent the attack by destroying CYBERDYNE. I'm guessing you already know which option Dom is going to choose.
Honor freedom.
Dom is going to insist on bringing in his crew to help on this one. While still mad at Brian for being a cop, Dom knows Brian is his only connection to other future members of the Resistance, including Hobbs, Tej, and Roman. One by one, the crew arrives and is brought up to speed about Judgment Day, the role in the human resistance, and the need to take out Skynet. Here's where we deviate from the T2 plot a bit. Hobbs, who has the highest clearance, learns that CYBERDYNE is aware they may be under attack and are moving the chip and the Terminator arm out of corporate woods to a new, more secure location by semi-truck. The crew knows this is their time to strike. It's time for one last job. For real this time. The crew prepares for the heist by signing out roles, gathering weapons, engaging in some light sparring exercises, and most importantly, stealing some sweet new Dodge Chargers. Boom! Product placement number 3. The only one hesitant at this point is Roman.
This is crazy. We are not in Brazil.
Roman's hesitation aside, it's time to roll out. In typical Fast and Furious style, the heist unfolds with quick cuts between our heroes aggressively shifting gears, shooting, jumping on cars, jumping off cars, jumping into each other, and most importantly using the cure-all, NOS. Bang bang, we have product placement 4. When the team finally secures the Terminator arm and chip, we arrive at the halfway point in our film's 2-part climax. It's time for our second tank of NOS. Just as the team thinks they're in the clear, the T-1000 crashes the party to show off its new favorite truck. The vehicular warfare continues. As day becomes night, we bring in common elements from the Terminator franchise like John reloading, asking each other to take the wheel, and John yelling for his mom. Just like in the original T2, we conveniently end up at a steel factory. Here, the T-1000, aided by CYBERDYNE reinforcements, continues to battle our heroes. Dom's team takes on CYBERDYNE mercenaries, while John and co. take on the T-1000. After meeting our quota of explosions, blunt force trauma, and throwing people through walls, we eventually force the T-1000 to take a swim in the molten steel pool where he is terminated. In the most emotional scene of our new story, the T-800 sacrifices himself to ensure the future future of humanity. Here, the Tate Hunter explains to an emotional John that while he now understands why people cry, it is something neither he nor Dom can ever do. For the first time in days, our heroes can breathe a sigh of relief. It's over. That was the last job. That was the last job, right guys? Sarah declines Dom's invite to the post-battle barbecue, but gives him her number in case they need to meet up again, laying the groundwork for a sequel. Back at 1328, the crew celebrates another successful job, this time saving humanity from termination. As the camera pans up to LA's skyline, we hear Roman thanking the Lord for friends, family, and most importantly, fast cars. And roll credits to some upbeat techno music or a new companion track by Luda. Our proof of concept is complete. Now we just have to wait for Universal and TriStar to get on board and okay the film. Does anyone have James Cameron's number? I hope you guys liked the video. I plan to make more like this on a weekly basis and would love to hear your thoughts on other crossover films you think movie studios should prioritize. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, when you're up against Skynet, it isn't how you stand by your car, it's how you race your car. Wise words, Ja.